Greetings, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to another week in what I'm coining Juggernaut July. And this week, the universe brings that juggernaut. We have a solar eclipse on Thursday. It's at step 20 Cancer, and Sensei says that will bring quantum drama. From my smartphone to yours, keep streaming for your weekly Namaste Today. Hello and welcome to Namaste Today. I'm your host and spiritual life coach, Sensei Christopher Witecki. My modality is psychic astrology, and my mission is to help people come in their hearts and reach for what I call serious joy. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste. This is the month of July, and in this July, I'm coining it Juggernaut July. That's because this month is a powerful month of transformation, probably the most powerful month of the year, to be honest. Up until now, we've been working on clearing our karma, kind of growing up, maturing, and coming into a higher version of ourselves. This month is the first month where we kind of cast this new story out into the world, and the universe throws a big curveball known as a solar eclipse in Cancer. So in this week's show, I'm going to talk about how we basically have the setup this week for some quantum drama, and later in our tea time, I will break down that solar eclipse for all 12 signs. But first, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is from Monday, July 9th to Friday, July 13th, 2018. Looking at your 5-day moodcast, it's a sunny summer week with one exception, the solar eclipse on Thursday. Let's drill down. On Monday, it's sunny and super solid. Step 17 rules a day. You're ready to make commitments, and the moon in Gemini allows you to communicate your feelings. On Tuesday, it's sunny and super active. Step 18 rules the day. It's time to move forward with your emotional plans, and Jupiter goes direct, moving your story forward. On Wednesday, it's sunny and a little sensitive. The moon now shifts into Cancer and countdown to the eclipse, and step 19 calls for you to hold space and keep going. On Thursday, it's cloudy, overcast, strange, and quantum. It's the solar eclipse. It happens at step 20 Cancer, and you will probably feel either tired or out of it. And then on Friday, the sun comes back out to play. It's sunny and expanding. Step 21 is the ruling step, and a moon in Leo is when it starts to get fun. Looking at this week ahead, I'm saying it's a setup for quantum drama. In my next segment, the Soul Collective, and I'll talk about the collective conscious, 2 grand trines, and a solar eclipse. Taking a sneak peek at this upcoming week, this week, the Soul Collective Consciousness is up for some quantum drama. And I'm actually quite serious about that. I think we're up for some heavy emotional drama, probably in different directions. Before I describe why, let's first review the story, shall we? So far in this year, all of the planetary energy has kind of pushed for us to kind of grow on the inside. We've been called to step out of our karma, step out of our pity stories, our victim stories, step into our new strength, step into our new win-win ego, step into a new level of manifesting abundance, thinking differently, and so far in Cancer, clearing out all of the emotional, subconscious kind of stuff at the bottom of our emotional lake, clearing that all out so we felt kind of renewed and healthy inside of ourselves. And that really happened as soon as last week. I thought that Independence Day was an emotional Independence Day, and I feel for those people who are awakening and on path that you've probably felt by the end of the week independent from your old drama. This week, the universe is ready to set in motion new drama. Okay, like, yay, thanks universe, we just cleaned the house a week ago. And that's what's going to happen with this solar eclipse we have on Thursday. The good news is, if you cleared out your emotional baggage, if you faced your shadows, if you just lowered the amount of pollution in your emotional field significantly, then this solar eclipse is going to be a punch in the right direction. It's going to be a huge blast of energy. It's quantum because it's at the Grandmaster step 20 of Cancer. There's only 2 Grandmaster steps in Cancer, really 3. If you want to take a look, it's debatable. Step 2 and step 20. Step 11 is kind of a Grandmaster step, but not really. It's kind of yes and no. Step 20 is a purebred step of emotion, okay? A blast of emotion with a 0 behind it, and that 0 behind it kind of adds infinity. It's like a wild card. It's like a joker card. It suddenly makes everything a pair. What it means in metaphysics on Earth is that everyone's emotional field is going to get swollen on Thursday. This solar eclipse is going to swell your emotional field, okay? So if you're on a desert island with the love of your life, you're about to have some crazy intimacy, okay? Like, because the emotion is going to be swollen, all right? So there's good applications to this. But if you are still harboring darkness, anger at the Trump administration, anger at the Democrats, any kind of negative emotion that's being harbored, okay, once that solar eclipse hits on Thursday, all of that negativity gets inflamed. So this solar eclipse is literally gasoline on a fire. The question is, what were you burning? Were you burning books? Like, were you burning things that are important, or were you burning a campfire to cook your food? So it's really that setup that determines. To me, this is actually the beginning of the story we were born to live. That's because in addition to this, Jupiter goes direct on Tuesday. Now, Jupiter is our collective consciousness. So Jupiter basically represents the human story. It represents your human story. It represents what you believe, what you've experienced, what your philosophy is, what you know so far, what your wisdom tells you so far in your multi-lifetime story. Jupiter's been retrograde for months, which means every human being on the planet has been kind of like hemming and hawing, kind of wondering what their story is, what does this mean, what's worth. So we've been in this like philosophical, introverted discovery of what is our story about, trying to make sense of the first 6 months Jupiter was in Scorpio. Now, Jupiter in Scorpio is in itself teaching human beings where the lines should be drawn. And we've clearly seen this influence. In fact, the Me Too movement, in my opinion, against Weinstein and everyone else, that Me Too movement happened right when Jupiter went into Scorpio, which meant that was the moment when human beings were like, hey, we need to change our beliefs about where the lines should be drawn. And so we've been focusing on that, and we were changing beliefs, and we moved into politics. I personally think that the Mueller investigation and all the stuff going on in the White House and whatnot, a lot of that is Jupiter in Scorpio saying, hey, we've had enough with politicians doing this. We've had enough with people cheating. We've had enough of corrupt deep state, all this stuff. So this is all the Jupiter in Scorpio influence. Technically, it's been on hold the last few months, which means we've been still mulling over the Mueller investigation. We've been still dealing with, Harvey Weinstein. He's just now getting prosecuted. So we've been kind of catching up. This week, with Jupiter moving forward, it means this question of where the right line is, this question now moves forward in public debate. Jupiter moving direct also means that the story you were born to live, your multi-lifetime story, your karmic story, it moves forward this week. In fact, Jupiter goes direct on Tuesday, and 2 days after, we have the solar eclipse at step 20 Cancer. So it's like the universe just blasts it with fuel and emotional passion and more. But wait, friends, there's even more than that. At the same time, so as our story starts to move forward this week, that solar eclipse actually is creating a grand trine in water. The sun at step 20 is trining Jupiter, and Jupiter is, of course, trining Neptune in Pisces. And so what this means is that whatever realization you have with this inflammation, whatever gets you charged up Thursday and after, it carries to your karmic story, Pisces, and it carries to where you draw the lines, Jupiter and Scorpio. So it's not just an inflammation. It's not just getting people riled up. It's probably something that pushes people over an emotional edge. Because it literally carries down to their spiritual story, in other words, their karma. Like, I've had enough of Republicans in past lives doing this to me. So people pull up their karma with Neptune and Pisces, retrograde now, which means karma, not direct learning. And then Jupiter, now direct in Scorpio, is saying, and what are you going to do about it? Where are you going to draw the line? What do you think the line should be? So this literally is a grand trine of inflammation, a grand trine of passion, and probably the tipping point for many human beings across the world. There's a lot of tension building up. Now wait, there's more. Yes. On top of this, we have a second grand trine going on at the same time between Venus, Saturn, and Uranus and Taurus. It's a dirty trine. It starts with Venus in Leo, but then it moves into a clean trine when Venus moves into Virgo. What does that mean in practicality? Well, the fire-earth and then the earth-earth trine that's going on at the same time as the water trine, okay, means that whatever passion we are feeling, fire, Venus and Leo, whatever emotion we are feeling, grand trine in water that's been inflamed, it will manifest immediately into reality solid form because of Uranus and Saturn in Capricorn. So basically, the universe has created both the lightning and the lightning rod to absorb it into the earth, which means that I think we're going to see, you see a lot of people, for instance, get riled up in a lecture or riled up picketing the streets. And you always wonder, I don't think this will be a big thing. I don't think people are that upset. It's going to fizzle out in a few days. And usually it fizzles out. This time, the universe has set up a bonfire, a galactic bonfire, which to me is like a tire fire. It goes on for 20 years in a town. It is going to be a fire that continues to burn. In fact, I think it's going to be the first chapter of the story we were born to live. Okay, the reason why we were born, the reason why we came to Earth. It opens with most of the Earth pissed off about something. And that energy of getting pissed technically happens between now until the end of July. Here's why. Because 2 weeks from this solar eclipse at step 20 Cancer, we have a lunar eclipse at step 4 Aquarius. A lunar eclipse is a punch. It is the universe punching something, knocking something out, creating havoc. It's going to be a blood red moon in the sky, bright red, as the eclipse of the lunar energy happens. So you don't have to be a native in the jungle to know that when the moon goes red, there's a problem, right? And in this case, yes, it is a lunar eclipse. It is a problem, and it will be in Aquarius at Grandmaster Step 4, just after we have this Grandmaster Step 20 solar eclipse. And at this Grandmaster Step 4, it means something is going to happen or fall out or fall apart that will probably upset people. So, the way I see this is that this week, this solar eclipse, it is going to make you very emotional and passionate. But we don't quite know what all this passion is for. It'll be very easy to improperly project our passion onto someone else. It'd be very easy to improperly blame it on the Republicans or the Democrats. But this passion has another use, and really the universe is just getting the bonfire going right now. What I'll be coaching in my personal sensei service and with my private clients is to take that passion and invest it inward, okay? Because I believe that inward investment is just going to make a star out of you, a supernova out of you. We also have a solar eclipse in Leo next month in August, and that's actually going to add a lot of heartfelt ingredients to this bonfire that we are starting. So our heart will basically be responding, and that solar eclipse will be the heart's response to whatever falls out with the lunar eclipse at step 4 Aquarius on July 27th, I believe. Yes, my memory serves me correctly. So this week is an interesting week. Now, there's still one more thing I haven't talked about. Mars is retrograde, okay, which means we're getting pissed off, but we don't have the energy to fight. See, that's also interesting because it's the universe. Literally, we're kind of being set up here for some quantum drama because we are getting all this emotion before we know what the cause is. Mars is going to be retrograde, which means as all this emotion comes, you're going to find you don't have the fight in you for certain things, which might piss you off more, right? Which might make you more enraged, which might frustrate you more. And that actually is kind of part of the lesson, I think, for our Mars retrograde this week. It's, okay, I'm very passionate and upset about something. Okay, how's your ego going to respond? And I think that's part of what we are calibrating ourselves here is the universe is pissing us off in a safe way or enraging us or getting us very passionate. And it's happening during a Mars retrograde, which means we're being given the option, we're being given the ability to train our ego. How are you going to respond, ego, when you have this much passion coursing through your veins? How are you going to respond? And this grand trine on Earth is pretty much going to set down tracks to whatever this response is. So whatever emotional response you have with your ego this week to this eclipse and the next week, this response kind of sets down a trail that is going to start to build up to a road over time. So it's very important. And I would say the key is being mindful of what your ego is attached to. So it's like, don't allow yourself to be ego attached to, for instance, getting revenge. Don't let your ego get attached to showing them who's the winner. So there's, in this flammable response of compassion and emotion, there's a lot of inner dialogue about how should I respond. Like I said, I don't think people will be out picketing because Mars is retrograde. We're all going to be at home with our remotes complaining. You know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. So this is a powerful week, and it all apexes on Thursday, actually. That's when everything kind of comes to a head. There's still another component I haven't talked about, which is that the Sun opposes Pluto, and I'm going to bring that up in our next discussion. So go steep yourself some tea. Let's have our weekly tea time. Hello, my friend, and welcome to our tea time. This week's tea time topic is the super passionate solar eclipse. As I mentioned in our last segment, we have a powerful solar eclipse this week, and it's not just an event of the week, it's an event of the year. I talked about this in my Countdown to 2018 video that I did in January that summarizes the whole year. I spoke to July being the contemplative month of history changing. Okay, so this is where I thought we may have a constitutional crisis. We may have some sort of quantum drama. Now, I don't believe that any of the drama it may appear as in this month of July necessarily equates to what we're going to go through. In fact, I actually think July is about preparing the human race to deal with drama, but whatever we're being prepared with may or may not be the actual drama that we face later. So I just want to let you know that right now. Try not to be fooled, okay? Part of this is about our ability to handle our emotions and how we respond to our emotions. And, of course, the Mars retrograde. How will your ego respond to these big feelings? Are you going to be win-win about it? Are you going to be win-lose about it? And I think that really is right there the separation between the teams of the new age. Some people on some team are going to think it needs to be win-lose. Someone needs to pay. Some people on the win-win are going to say, we need to fix this once and for all. We really do. And I think those will be the two camps. And I believe that this month in July, people home alone with their girlfriends and boyfriends in all their different places, they're very privately probably choosing that camp. Very privately, very quietly in their own inner psyche. So I will say to all the influencers out there, if you have little Padawans under your guide, this next week might be a very good time to check in and offer a little light and hope to the person in the sense of looking at a win-win solution, that there is win-win possible. And that whatever emotions of pain or anger or frustration or whatever we might bring to the table, those feelings are for us to handle, for us to nurture, for us to calm down. It is not for the outer world or someone else in the world or someone else in the world to be blamed. And again, that I think is the distinction. Now, this is a very powerful solar eclipse, mostly because it's setting up a fire, but it has no trail of fire. Let me show you why, actually. I brought a prop today. Step 20. This solar eclipse is at step 20. Now, step 2 is I feel, which means at this particular moment, Human beings will bring everything they feel to the equation. Everything. And that's one of the things about our feelings. You can suppress a feeling, but it's subconsciously there and your soul knows. You can talk back to a feeling or fight with a feeling, but it's going to bounce back. Emotions are self-aware, and until we deal with them and nurture them, they are present in our psyche. They are there. Now, the magic of this particular solar eclipse is the zero. The zero is Pluto, basically. Pluto is time and space. So the universe is basically saying, let's do a big galactic investment of everything people feel and also time and space. Okay, and you go, well, what does time and space do? Time and space allows those feelings to be carried out over and over through time and space. It's kind of a multiplier. It takes what was just a feeling a minute ago and now makes it a 20. Okay, it was just a 2, now it's a 20. And if we put it out over more time and space, it's 200. And if we put it out more time and space, it's 2,000. This is the tire fire I was talking about. Technically, we are being inspired to have some emotion go on, go on, go on, go on. Now, the other thing that happens with a step zero is it's a block. This is actually a boundary. That's what step zero consciousness is. So what it does is it creates an event where people's feelings feel stuck behind walls. Okay? Stuck behind walls. And, that can make a person kind of go crazy in that room, right? And start to build up. What happens is it inflames the emotions to a higher intensity because they have no outlet. They just keep going in circles and circles and circles. It doesn't know where to go with this emotion. And this wall, which is my hands are tied. I can't do anything about it. I can't help the world with it. This is where the pressure starts to build. And if people are using their old ego, okay, they start blaming something on the other side of the wall. It's those African Americans. It's those Jews. It's those poor people. It's those immigrants. It's those women. Any of your privileged classes basically usually get blamed beyond the zero. But the point is this is a setup for a long-lasting, passionate bonfire. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not just a bonfire, but it's one that's going to be carried out through the rest of your soul. Not eternity, just your soul. It's up to you if you want to carry those zeros out. But it's going to be carried out to the rest of your soul through Jupiter, which is at step 13 at the point of the eclipse. So step 13 is a dynamic step. Step 13 says we need to innovate this shift. So it's going to be we got to change this shift. Okay, so you're going to have that element of rebellious energy in this. You're going to have freedom as a huge energy in this. Jupiter at 13, the desire for freedom, the desire for independence, the desire to create our own boundaries. This is Jupiter in Scorpio, so basically the Jupiter aspect is speaking to the philosophy around the zero. What should the zero be? So in this solar eclipse, a lot of people who are stewing at home are saying, I need to break that zero. Let's send a missile. Let's cross that boundary. Let's change that boundary. So a lot of people, interpret that differently, right? And then, of course, the other big emotional water sign contributor is Neptune in Pisces, which is retrograde. Now, why is that important? That's important because Neptune in Pisces, first of all, is at step 16. So we have a pure connection to our soul right now. Pure connection means the universe is not playing games. You can see clearly what your story is. You have the ability to see clearly what your legacy has been. You have the ability to see clearly what your karma has been. And so with this grand trine in water, it's at the top, you have this big step 20 emotional event. And it comes pouring through these two sides. One side is your karma, which means, in my karma, I've always been screwed over by refugees. I've always been screwed over by immigrants. I've always been screwed over by different races. So your soul chimes in as far as what the score is with all of this. And then Jupiter at step 13 Scorpio, that's really the point of the boundary. Are you going to let this get to you, not let this get to you? Are you going to blame the world or blame yourself? Are you going to... And so this is the big, I think, triangle of shame or triangle of fame, depending on which way you sort of interpret it. So now all of this, I think, is not going to turn into actual world drama. I'd be willing to bet that we have some sort of drama on TV, that we are all politically all hovered around the TV about something or whatever. But the truth is this is how you deal with drama on the inside. And again, I don't predict there to be like world crisis or world worry is a better word until after the lunar eclipse on the 27th in Aquarius. Something is going to go wrong at that point. And see, by that time, these emotional passions have been fueling, this fire has been burning for 2 weeks by the time the lunar eclipse hits. Now, with that said, my tea, I want to walk through all 12 signs, and I'm going to tell you where the top of your grand trine is. Whew, all these different terms. Where the top of your grand trine is. So where you are emotionally holding space, where the sun at step 20 is for you. Then I'm going to tell you where you're holding the Jupiter space and where you're holding the Neptune space, and how you have to be cognizant of these different areas at the same time. And remember, your goal is to embody the new ego, to nurture yourself on the new terms, to not let the old emotions from the past corrupt your future, to not blame the future for the past. Okay, so these old emotional games that we play with ourselves and have been stuck in the world forever doing over and over again, don't repeat them. That's it. If you don't repeat what you've done in the past, you will find yourself in a new story. You'll find yourself in a new chapter. It may not be the ideal chapter. You may realize that you should have responded still yet differently, but at least you won't be stuck in the old emotional neighborhood of shame. So it's shame or fame. It's kind of the two directions you can possibly go. And to help you out, I will put the sign here on the side of the screen so you can easily skip to your sun sign or your rising sign. And I will say, just to say, your sun sign will be where you experience this in your immediate life. Your rising sign will be where you see this in your long-term life. All right. And let's begin with Aries. Aries is building emotional security. So this is pretty much going to be whether they're emotionally calm or they're emotionally fierce or they're emotionally agitated. Like how an Aries responds generally is what they're going to be setting the tone for this Thursday, how they're emotionally going to respond. And I think it changes, and I think as you age it changes, so I don't think it's necessarily a right or wrong, it's what's best for you. But your emotional tone, you're building an emotional foundation, and this ties into the spirit you want to be. So you have to keep in mind, Aries, who are you here to be? Who cares what you have been? Forgive and forget the past. But what are you here to be? And at what point does that begin? So the question is, are you spiritually aligned? And then Jupiter and Scorpio for Aries is, where are you going to draw the lines? Where's the line going to be with yourself? Are you going to blame yourself? Are you going to take responsibility for it? Are you going to blame someone else? So Aries and Aries risings are literally determining their emotional security by changing their boundaries and either repeating their karma or rising above it. Taurus. Tauruses are adopting a new emotional attitude. So this is how their mind will emotionally respond. This is an event to teach them how to emotionally respond in their mind. And that's where Tauruses are most emotional, is in their mind, which is why they are worriers. They tend to worry a lot and obsess a lot. Now, this new emotional attitude, you have to line it up with who you seek to be in the world. So Taurus, you have to think about who you want to be in the world when you make this emotional response. And you have to figure out who you want to be associated with in the world. So in your response, maybe the response shouldn't change. Maybe someone shouldn't be in the chain. Maybe someone shouldn't be included. So Tauruses are developing an emotional, mental response that ties in who they want to be in the world and the people that are aligned with that potential vision. Gemini. Gemini are deciding what their emotional worth is. So they're going to make a decision about what they are emotionally worth. And again, this will probably be a response to something, Gemini. Someone might challenge you, and you might have to say, you're wrong, I'm right, I feel I'm worthy. Okay? So you are holding space for what your emotional value is. This ties in, okay, to your quality of daily life. So you have to draw the boundary about what you'll tolerate in life or not tolerate in life in order to keep that emotional tone of value. And it must be in alignment with your career and your legacy and where you want life to go. So it's setting an emotional value tone that coordinates with the quality of life and that coordinates with the future direction your soul believes in. Cancers. Cancers, you are heavily affected by this. And you know what? I just realized I did not bring something up. So everyone who's watching, wait till the end. There's something to talk about. Okay. Which is the opposition of Pluto. Cancers are creating a new ego emotional response. So how their ego responds, how their emotions respond with their defenses. So they're setting up a new defense emotional network. This ties in to their personal heart. So their response must be coordinated to make sure their heart is safe. Their responses must be pro-love for them. And this ties into their personal belief, what their soul believes life should be. So cancers are probably going to opt out of a lot of emotional drama situations because it's not good for their heart and it's not what they believe they're here to do. But the old days, the old ego might have responded anyways. So I think cancers are opting out. I think a lot of cancers are going to officially opt out of saving certain types of people with this new solar eclipse, that they're here to save themselves, not the world. And that is a fated moment because a lot of people that cancers have been holding up will no longer be held up by them at this point. So this is you can see the fate, the story of fate changing when a person makes a decision like that. So cancers, it is an emotional character tone that ties into your love for yourself and ties into what you believe. Leos are choosing higher faith, which probably means your faith will be questioned. Probably something will happen, Leo, that makes you question your faith. Okay, I'm just saying that right now. So it might be a faith drill. Okay, it's a real test of faith. That's the way to put it. And this emotional faith in yourself ties to your desire to have a stronger emotional foundation. So you can only have this faith by protecting the baby and protecting yourself from things that would ruin the faith. So it's important that your boundaries protect this faith and are architected to protect the faith. If someone erodes your faith, I don't care how much you like them, they can't be in your space. And that's the third point, boundaries. So for Leos and Leo risings, you are setting a tone for higher faith, but you must have very strong boundaries with family members and very strong boundaries with your own emotions, and you must have spiritually high values when it comes to your boundaries with the world, the boundaries that you set for transformation. They should be determined by your spirit and your spiritual path. So this is a very inward Leo's offline solar eclipse, and they may go through some drama because of the test of faith. Virgos are creating a new social belonging with the world. They feel an atonement with the world. They feel a connection with the world, and they're looking for a connection that they believe in. Okay, so they're setting and holding space for an emotional connection in the world. This ties into their mental attitude on one hand and their relationship strategy on the other. So Virgo, if you want to be in a certain place in the world, your mind has to maintain a certain attitude and can't go certain places, and you have to leave behind relationships that can't keep up, which is anti-Virgo philosophy. Virgos always tend to stay behind with the victim or with the wounded person. But the universe is saying, hey, if you think you belong in a higher class or in a different class, that means some people can't go with you. So Virgos are uniting where they belong, the way they think, and who they relate to, very much like Tauruses are. Libras are holding space for a brighter future where their emotions are considered. Okay, so they're trying to have a brighter future where their feelings are considered. This is career, this is legacy, this is their family traditions. This is going to tie into this emotional future. It ties into what you feel you are worth. So you have to gauge it by what you're worth as far as your future is concerned and not give it away for free. You have to hold and maintain your values and not give it away for free. And at the same time, you must also be a total soldier about your health and your daily life. Your daily life has to be at a very high vibration for you to have the future you want to feel. And you must have really strong boundaries that doesn't give it away and doesn't give it away too much and doesn't throw off your balance. So Libras are setting a new emotional tone for their career future. Scorpios are setting a new tone for their life purpose. So Scorpios are kind of going through a new rah-rah. They have a new cheerleader inside. They're like, yes, they're going to get fired up about a future. They're going to get fired up about a potential. This future potential trines into, for one, your self-love. So your heart must be on board this future, this life purpose, or it's a dud. If your heart's not in it, there's no time. You will screw yourself over. Okay, so you cannot go against something your heart's not in at this time. Other times in history you could. not this time. You'll miss the boat, okay? The other is you must stay true to your character changes that you have made since November. So all the changes you've made to yourself since November, those can't be compromised for this new life purpose, nor can your heart be compromised for this new life purpose. Sagittariuses. Sagittarius are about to transform their entire life, and what they're choosing with this solar eclipse is an emotional tone, basically how they want to feel through the whole transition. That's the key. So you want to fly coach, you want to fly cargo, or you want to fly first class. It's really whether or not you're going to be mindful of your feelings. So Sagittarius are about to change their life. Now here's where they must hold true. They must hold true with their spiritual faith. You can't go backwards. If you believe you had faith before, you can't bring it up for question again. You have to call it and then see if it works out. So you have to be very strong about your boundaries around faith, okay? And keep those boundaries. And you have to be you have to monitor your own emotional situation to make sure that you always feel in grace, you always feel protected, you always feel sacred. So you have to keep your emotional tone sacred. You have to stay true to your faith in order for you to make this powerful transformation in your life. Capricorn. Capricorns are adopting a new approach to long-term relationships. And this is a new emotionally conscious approach. So being emotionally conscious in the relationships means you have lifelong partnerships. It means you have people who are looking out for you, Capricorn, because they emotionally feel connected to you. Now, for you to step in this new emotional relationship potential, you have to have all of your social associations completely in alignment with this. So you got to cut off people who aren't going to get it. You have to embrace people who do. So your public boundaries have to be drawn in accordance with this new relationship strategy. And your attitude must be appropriate the whole time. So you have to maintain a total attitude that is void of the past, void of prejudice, void of criticism. So you have to keep a clean mental tone, a clean Rolodex, and be mindful of your emotions in relationships. Aquarius. Aquariuses are stepping into a new lifestyle. So they're setting like the emotional limits for what their life can be with this solar eclipse. And this they must keep in mind as they are setting these limits. For one, their self-confidence. You must be very clear as you set this lifestyle that it doesn't demean your value. Your value should go up, not down. Your value also must be spiritually pure, which means there's no karma related to your value, that it's something you've earned with truth and your own inner justice. So the lifestyle has to be in karmic touch with your value system, and the lifestyle has to be in touch with your future plans and career legacy intentions. So for you to have this lifestyle, you have to be very razor sharp with what you will do and won't do in your career. And you have to be really holy about what you value and don't value. And if you do that, you will find yourself in a powerful new lifestyle. And then finally, the Pisces. Pisces are manifesting personal joy. So they're holding space for some serious, passionate joy with this solar eclipse, and they're setting boundaries for this. In the same sense, that joy can be absolute misery and heartbreak for someone who's not paying attention and investing in this direction. For you to have this personal dream or joy, Pisces, your beliefs have to be completely in line with that heart. Everything you believe, everything you teach, everything you preach has to be coordinated to that heart's intention. And your behavior has to be completely in alignment with that heart's dream too. So your beliefs and your behavior must be in alignment with what the heart is wanting. If you go against your own belief, if you do something you know is not right for you, this could sabotage your feeling of unity emotionally and sabotage your potential for personal joy. So, as you can hear, it's a very powerful, very complex, in-depth transformation. There's actually more to talk about than I have, but I have only so much time really in a weekly show. I'll be talking about this more in depth in my personal sensei service. But one of the big things that is important to know about this that I've forgotten is that the solar eclipse opposes Pluto at step 20 Capricorn. And when you have an eclipse that opposes Pluto, that means you are drawing an absolute line in the sand. An absolute line. An absolute line is something you can't take back, okay? So for instance, someone could get really emotional, drink too much, and have a DUI, That would be a line in the sand. You can't take that back. You're going to court. You're going to deal with this. You're going to have it on your record. So everyone should be very, very loyal to the boundaries you have learned so far. I believe that you could be very brokenhearted and disappointed if you go back on a boundary you know better than. In fact, if you do anyways when you know better than, in this eclipse, you're opting into some different sort of fate. You're putting yourself on a different team. You're telling the universe you're not ready to play, in prime time yet. So it's very important with this 0 behind the 20 and the Pluto behind the sun that you honor boundaries. Your boundaries first and foremost, others, of course, as well. Okay? And otherwise than that, I think, most of this is going to be happening inside of us. Like I said, I don't think we're going to see a lot of outer world drama, but I do think that this is going to be the solar eclipse that pushes some people over the edge, and we'll see those people acting out later in the year. So with that said, how about some good news? And now it's time for some good news. My first announcement is one that I think is very timely. As you have heard in this show so far, we're all about to get very emotionally wound up. And some of us are going to use that for good things, and some of us are going to be tempted to use it for negative things, to punish others. And this is the fate and karma of humankind. Now, we don't have to keep these cycles and circles going on. We do know better now. And one thing we have learned is we are more powerful together than we are apart. That's why I'm a part of the Oneness.care Love Fest. And we have our next Love Fest coming on July 22nd. So I would really encourage you to come if you're in the area of Colorado, or to watch if you're online. We're going to telestream this live. We're going to talk about coming together. We're going to give people tools on how to feel better, how to deal with all this emotional intensity. That's one thing I'm going to speak to. But we're also going to champion behind the cause of industrial hemp. The universe and the world is getting polluted with plastic, getting polluted, cutting down our trees, wiping our butts with trees, and we have alternatives. So we're going to talk about hemp and how a new legalization effort needs to be made, not for the recreational use, but for the industrial use. And we'll be having 2 guest speakers come, along with a number of vendors, some hemp vendors, some hippie vendors, some readers, chakra readers. It's really going to be a little spiritual fair. But more importantly than everything, it's important for us to come together. And I'm looking to shake hands and give hugs to people who show up. If you're interested in learning more about our Oneness.care Love Fest, visit oneness.care. The other thing I have to mention is my personal sensei service. Now, I developed this service for this time in history. I'm not kidding. I'm going to pat myself on the back. I saw the world was going to come to a dangerous head and a turning point, and I wanted a tool that would be there to support people at the most critical times. This next 3 weeks is a critical time. It will do you good justice to get a text message at noon or in the middle of the day that encourages you to keep it positive and turn your back on the old. I'm also doing special coaching for the Mars retrograde. If you haven't tried my service, try it for the first month for just $3.99. For more information and a video that explains the service, visit SeriousJoy.com. And then lastly, just an invitation to coagulate on the web. We have the Namaste Today Club. If you're not already a member, we'd love to have you come on by. Feel free to post things that are important to you, your spiritual causes, your charities, and your spiritual products. If you want to be a part of our little tribe, visit namastetoday.club. All right, my friend, I hope you have a powerful and positive, passionate solar eclipse. I will catch you on the other side. Until then, I love you. Live, love, be.